it's officially May, and that means it's time for April's wrap up. Coming up, I have some chit chat, work in progress, some acquisitions, and some finished objects, as well as the yarn usage totals so far for 2026. So grab your beverage of choice and perhaps your project and join me. Hello and welcome to or back to Miss Craftsalot's Lair. I am Barbie, your resident multi-crafter, and as I said, today I have April wrap up. So first off, I've got some chit chat. I think I'm gonna mess with the order of things, so I should have chapters pinpointed in the time stamp. Yeah, chapters time stamped down below. Anyway, so first off, I started off with April with a bit of a room rearrangement. I did want to make a little bit of room in one place and move stuff to a different place and move things around a little. I wanted to kind of move things around a little, saying that I have some ideas as far as what I want to do for my craft room. I am forever looking for different ways that may make my time down here in the lair just a little bit more productive. So I am wanting to do a little bit more of a rearrange. However, that is going to take 2 new tables and turning a couple of my 2x4 cubbies, as I call them, into my cutting tables. So we've got a little bit of work to do, and it probably won't all get finished until closer to the end of the season. However, at least I've got it started. Another thing that I have been dealing with recently over this past month is my ADHD is fighting me for some reason really hard recently. So things have not been getting done like I probably should. I have been trying to go along with what my brain wants to do. So things are getting kind of tossed around a bit. Plans are getting changed. Motivation is just not there for a lot of things. So I'm trying to work on things as I can. So we shall see. Um, I also had some kind of, to me, bad news that's going to be coming up a little bit more in another episode. However, if you have been paying attention to my channel, you have seen that we have gone through quite a bit of bad weather a couple weeks ago. That has pretty much now turned into colder weather. I had to hurry up and cover up my plants with tarps last night to protect them from a freeze, which is not completely unheard of here in Wisconsin in the month of May, but still was not exactly thrilled that it happened. And my final talking point for this particular video is not really technically craft related, but it is my craftmobile. My husband has actually gotten started on fixing my car, and I am so happy. She is in like a bazillion different pieces, but there is hope on the horizon that I might have a car again. Then again, gas prices are going to be so crazy that I don't think I'm going to get that far. And I also think that some of my summer plans might have to be put on the back burner if gas prices don't come down. But that is of itself a totally other topic. So, now that I have gotten that out of the way, I am going to tell you about my finished objects. So for March's update, I did talk about how I was coming along on the hoodie, and everything that I am showing as finished objects are not completely 100% finished because I have not done tails. If y'all know, you know. Anyway, I have finished the bind off on my hoodie. I do have to hide tails. I have I have tried it on. It is super comfy, and I cannot wait to wear it. But then again, we are in Wisconsin, so I don't think that I'm going to be wearing this anytime really soon. It's still a little warm even for springtime weather around here. So, but that's what it is looking like. Tails will be hidden, I promise, because I do really want to wear this one. This is actually where I have decided that this is probably something I want to show first before I show my works in progress, because if y'all know, I have had these socks on my needles since I got this particular yarn, and I think I got this yarn this time last year. Might have actually been the year prior. I have to look. It's all in a past video. However, during that really bad week, I decided that I was going to go back to these. I didn't like how they fit, so I recast them on and finished them in a week. So I have my fruit socks are done. This is using the Premier Fruits sock yarn and in dragon fruit, and I really like how they came out. There are some like bits that I do need to work on when making socks, but I'm pretty happy with them. My next finished object is because I was put in such a mood for socks with finishing the dragon fruit socks that I cast on another pair of socks. This, I honestly cannot remember the yarn that I used for this. I think it's a Cascade yarn, if I am thinking correctly. On the other hand, like, I think it's Cascade. It has been sitting in my stash for actually since before the dragon fruit yarn has been in my stash. So I'm pretty sure it's Cascade yarn. Think I got it from my local yarn shop in Monroe, but I cannot really be certain on that. So I am sorry about that. But I love the colors and how it decided to work up. So yeah. For the fact that I don't know too much about the yarn and can't remember too much about the yarn, I am gonna leave it at that. And with that, I will start my whips. And by starting whips, I mean I will show you the whip that I have currently. I only have one thing on hook at this. Well, I take that back. I still have that cat scarf on the hook, or getting in the process of being worked on. However, there hasn't been very much of progress on it, so therefore I am not going to show it in this video. Hopefully, I can like put my mind into finishing that soon, so then that way I can put it on for May's wrap up. It's only going to take me maybe a couple hours to finish it, to be perfectly honest with you. So it shouldn't take me that long. So I think I can handle that, finishing that in May, if I can find it. Because now thinking about it, I don't even know where it's at. Maybe it's upstairs by my chair. I'm not sure. Anyway, enough of that squirrel tangent. Let's go on to what I have in front of me. And what I have in front of me is another pair of socks. My friend and I were joking around. It looks like it could be somebody's bikini, but no, we're not going to go there. Anyway, so I am working on another pair of socks. This, I can tell you more about the yarn because I do have the yarn label and it's still on the yarn somehow. This particular sock yarn has been in my stash now since the Joann's in my city closed, which all of the Joann's closed a year ago. This one closed a couple years before the other ones did. So this has been sitting in my stash for at least 4 years. But this is the Premier Yarns Deborah Norville collection in Serenity. I want to say that this particular colorway is crocus. Yes. So I had 2 skeins of that. I am going to see how many socks I can make with this particular skein of yarn. I do have yarn left over from these socks, so I'm not sure. The texture of the 2 yarns is slightly different, but I would not be opposed to just like playing with the yarns to see if they would work together to make a pair of socks if I don't have enough in one yarn in order to make another full pair of socks, if that makes sense. So that is my work in progress. I've only gotten a couple of inches into this one. I decided that I was not going to be too picky on the color changes, and if the color changes were in the correct spot, just get this yarn, get this pair done and on its way. Generally, I kind of tend to try to get my yarns to match up, if you couldn't tell from these other 2 pairs of socks, but this one I figured I'd throw caution to the wind and see how I like it. So we'll see if it's something that sticks around or something that I'm going to have to feel the need to make sure that everything lines up just so. So, siblings, cousins, it's going to happen. This time it's happening. Now that I have the works in progress and the finished objects out of the way, I am left with just the acquisitions. And I did good this month. I think I did well this month with my acquisitions. So this month, a couple weeks ago, my husband and I went out for a drive-about for his birthday. We had a spot to stop at. It was during all the bad weather, so I didn't get very much. I did not get any filming of us out and about because places were flooded, places weren't as busy as I thought they were going to be, and that kind of stuff. So one of the places that we went was very near my local yarn shop in Monroe. So I was like, hey, we must stop by the Orange Kitten. And in doing so, I found these 2 skeins of yarn. These are Plymouth Yarn Company Encore Color Spun. They are 75% acrylic, 25% wool, and each skein, each ball has 100 grams of yarn. I love the color of these. Like, here, put it like that, because there's the purples, the pinks, the blues, the greens. I love how this particular yarn is colored on the skein. I got 2. So in total, I added 200 grams to my yarn stash. As I make my way and finish this particular part, I'm going to tell you about the yarn usage, and I don't think I've done so bad. So these 2 came home with me. I'm thinking of making a hat and scarf combination, if not a hooded scarf. So we shall see. I do believe that there's enough yarn here. And now it's time for the yarn usage totals so far for the month of April and for this year of 2026. So with the finished objects, the works in progress, and the acquisitions all done, now all we have left is the yarn usage totals. So I have my cheat sheet is down here in front of me, and some is on the computer. So if I'm glancing in different directions, that is why. So we're going to start off with the hoodie. The hoodie was a total of 654 grams of yarn usage. However, I did have a portion of that was used was calculated into another month, I believe. Let me see. I don't know. Hold on. January. you know what? I need to keep that out. So then that way I know. Okay, so let's start that over again. I have information written in front of me. I have stuff on my computer, so if I'm glancing in other directions, that is why. So first off, we have the hoodie. As far as the hoodie goes, I had 141 grams that had totaled for the hood for the hoodie. I had used up that skein, and I had still yet to figure out if I wanted to use that particular same color for the uh, cuffs and for the actual like pocket for the hoodie. So I wasn't sure, and I decided that I was just going to do a running total of that particular yarn and add to that total if need be. So here we go. So in total, when I weighed that sweater out, it came to 654 grams of yarn total. So that was 513 grams used beyond the hood for that hoodie. Obviously, I had started that in January, so it was over, but I was saying that I was not going to count the yarn on a project until it was done. So that's why it's all being put into April. The fruit socks, those weighed up to 34 grams. So that is an additional 34 grams of yarn. The purple socks were 48 grams of yarn used for those. That leaves us with a total of April. I used 595 grams of yarn. And since I am also keeping track of what I am using in 2026, that gets me up to using 1,775 grams for the year of 2026. So if you've watched this far, I think it's kind of interesting to now say how many grams do you think I'm going to be able to use in 2026? Go ahead and comment those below. I'm curious to see what people have to say about what I can use in this year. I do have quite a few projects up my sleeve, so to speak, as far as things I want to do. However, those are for the most part in queue for videos, so I'm not really going to give you guys spoilers on what's coming up over summer. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please like, share, and consider subscribing. I would love to have you here, and I think we have some fun here. So yeah. Until next time, bye!